Good morning. Ray here with the Awakening Shorts series, continuing the short talks that I'm giving to share what I've learned from a pretty intense spiritual path before I die so that other people can benefit from it. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, too, depending on where in the world you are. Thank you for everyone that's joining in from all over the world, U.S., Virgin Islands, Italy, Greece, France, UK, India, Germany. Thank you for all of you who are listening in on these short talks, and thank you for those of you who have subscribed to the YouTube channel so you can get to the playlist where I'm collecting these. And thank you for joining the Patreon. Thank you for listening in on the podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, Google Cast, I guess it's called. Thank you, everyone. So today's topic is don't accept beads for diamonds. And by that I mean don't be satisfied with worthless beads when you could have had a valuable diamond. And the thing about diamonds is it takes a lot of work to get a diamond. You have to dig a deep diamond mine, go down deep into the earth, and then find the diamond, pull it out, bring it up to the surface, and clean it off. And the spiritual path is a lot like that. To do true spiritual work, you have to go deep inside yourself, and you have to find the diamond of your essential nature that might be covered up by a lot of false conditioning, a lot of egoic mud and dirt, so to speak. And you have to be honest with yourself. You have to look at your patterns and look at the mechanism of your egoic mind and see how it creates so much of your own suffering for yourself. And that is a challenging process. And a lot of people who like to believe that they are on a spiritual path don't necessarily want to engage in that difficult and challenging process, because it means that you have to be totally honest with yourself. And sometimes it means admitting that you were wrong. And most people never like to admit that they're wrong. You might have noticed that with other people in your life who it seems like they always have to be right. And yes, that's true, but if it's true for others, there's a good chance it's true for you as well. It's just that we're able to see these things more easily when it's other people, and maybe not so easily when it's ourselves. And when you do this process, what you're doing is you're undoing the mechanism of your mind that creates this suffering. So you're really challenging your ego. And the ego does not like to be challenged, and the ego does not like change. So it's going to do everything it can to divert you, to get you to go another way, it'll say it's as if it says, okay, you want to be spiritual, here, let's be spiritual this way. And it will divert you into a path where you are not really doing the work, and you're getting worthless plastic beads instead of the valuable diamonds that you could have been getting. So this shows up in a few ways. One is spirituality as entertainment, or entertainment as spirituality might be the better way of saying it. So by that I mean, for example, things like you go to some workshop and they're burning incense and there are crystals everywhere, and maybe they start off with a short 3-minute chanting of Om, as a supposed meditation. And then the next thing you know, they're talking about Atlantis and Lemuria and the war with the Martians, and how you had a past life in Atlantis, and so now you're trying to, in this life, undo it. Well, so first of all, if your lifetime in Atlantis was more important than the life you're having now, you would be in Atlantis now. The spiritual path is always where you are now. And second of all, so, you know, stories about Atlantis and Lemuria and the war with Mars and what happened 20,000 years ago. These are interesting ways to pass the time. These are entertaining stories. It's something entertaining to watch if there's nothing good on Netflix. But are you really doing the work? Are you really making progress by virtue of these entertaining stories? Or are you still snapping at the cash register girl when she can't ring you up fast enough? Are you still getting into fights with your mother? Are you still triggered by this, that, or the other thing? You know, it's nice to go to things like this. It makes you feel very spiritual, and all your friends will tell you how spiritual you are because you go to things like this. But are these bedtime stories really the deep inner work that you need to be doing? Bedtime stories are for children, and you want to be doing the work of an adult on the spiritual path, which means going deep inside yourself and being honest with yourself and looking at your patterns and transcending, healing, and integrating those patterns so that you undo the egoic mechanism of the mind that keeps you in suffering. Do you want to get out of suffering, or do you want to be someone who is still trapped in suffering but gets to listen to bedtime stories about a civilization a long time ago and far, far away? So the ego will try to get you diverted into different so-called spiritual activities that make you feel very spiritual, impress all your friends, but don't really help you. In other words, they don't really threaten the ego, and the ego can just keep going, playing its games over and over again. And so that's what it likes to do. If you're going to challenge the ego with spirituality, the ego is going to divert you into a form of spirituality that is no challenge to it whatsoever. And then it can be safe and it can keep going. And you don't get the diamonds. You're accepting worthless plastic beads instead of diamonds. So that's one way. A second way is cults. And I don't have a whole lot to say about cults, just that you can join a cult as a spiritual path, and as long as you do what the cult leader tells you to do, everyone praises you and tells you how spiritual you are and how far you're advancing on the spiritual path. But the bottom line is you're giving up your autonomy to the cult leader. A true spiritual teacher wants to empower you so that you eventually become your own teacher. A cult keeps you dependent, and it can feel like hard work because they make you give up everything and you have to do whatever they say, even to the point of drinking Kool-Aid and committing suicide. And it doesn't seem like that would be easier than challenging your own ego and doing the deep inner work and being honest with yourself. But for a lot of people, they would rather drink Kool-Aid and commit suicide than admit they were wrong or face their inner demons or look at themselves in an honest and forthright way. So it's an easy out. Maybe not as easy as entertainment as spirituality, but it's an easy out. It's sort of a last-ditch effort of the ego. If you're really threatening it and challenging it, it's going to divert you into a path where it keeps going, but maybe you don't necessarily. So watch out for that. That's taking worthless beads instead of the diamond that you could have had. And finally, a third example of this is when you are using some kind of modality for spiritual improvement, make sure you get everything you can out of that modality. And don't settle for half measures, or don't stop the race before you've reached the finish line, would be another way of putting it. And this applies to any kind of conscious exercise. Conscious breathing, meditation, yoga, tai chi, qigong, breath work. Let's limit it, for the sake of keeping this a little short, let's limit it to meditation, because that's an example most people are familiar with. Essentially, the purpose of meditation is to get you to a place where you become aware of your own true nature. That's the real purpose of meditation. In order to get to that place, you first have to calm your mind from all the egoic, anxiety-laden, stress-filled thoughts, anxiety about the future, or hope about the future, or thoughts of judgment and blame and resentment about things that have happened to you in the past. All that kind of thing is like a swirling whirlpool running through people's minds all the time. And it's not a very nice place to be. And you cannot get to where you need to be, to the place where you can sense your own true essence while all that stuff is going down. So the first thing meditation does is it calms all of that stuff down, so that then you can be aware of your own true essence. But the problem is that when that stuff gets calmed down, it feels so good, people think they've arrived. They think that's it. They think the meditation has worked. They're like, oh, I feel so much better. And they do feel so much better. It's absolutely true. And so they have a tendency to think that that's the point of the meditation, and they basically stop at that point. When really it's a journey. You're trying to get from point A to point B. And you cannot get to point B as long as that anxiety and those frenetic, frantic thoughts are circulating through your mind in a never-ending tornado. You can't get to point B if your mind is like that. So the first thing the meditation does is it gets your mind calm. But you still have to continue to get to point B. You're not at point B yet. You haven't crossed the finish line yet. I've told this story before. The whole idea about the monkey mind, very often a pointer in meditation is that we have a monkey mind with thoughts jumping around all over the place, and meditation helps to calm that down. But I never really got that until one day I was watching a documentary on Animal Planet, and they were showing these monkeys in this huge tree. And it was like 200 monkeys in this huge tree, and the monkeys were going nuts. They were jumping up and down, yelling and screaming, waving their arms. A branch with 5 or 6 monkeys on it, all 6 monkeys simultaneously would jump up into the air, crossing over to the other side of this huge tree and heading for another branch, but that branch was full of monkeys. And the monkeys that were on that branch would suddenly in unison, leap up into the air and cross over and land on the other branch that the first set of monkeys had just jumped from. So if they had not done that, there wouldn't have been any place for the first set of monkeys to land. And this was like going on constantly. And this was about 10 minutes they were showing this. So then, after about 10 minutes, they cut to another scene. But I'm looking at the TV screen and I have this epiphany. At that point, I could describe to you in exact detail everything there was to know about these monkeys and how they looked. What color their fur was, how their faces were shaped, the patch of white on their bottoms, like everything. I could describe these monkeys to you perfectly. But I could not tell you a thing about the tree they were jumping on. Even though I had been looking at that tree for 10 minutes, I hadn't seen a thing. My attention had been so totally sucked in by the monkeys that I didn't even register the tree, even though I was looking at it for 10 minutes. So that's the way the mind is and meditation works. The monkeys are like your monkey thoughts of the egoic mind that create all your suffering. The tree is your inner essence, your true self, your true nature, calm, peaceful, serene, simply holding the space for all the craziness taking place around you and inside of your mind. Meditation puts the monkeys to sleep. In fact, in the documentary, they showed a scene later where they had fed the monkeys, and now the monkeys were all snoozing on the tree limbs. And then you could see the tree. The tree was obvious. So meditation gets your monkey thoughts to calm down and take a nap. But you still have to look at the tree. You can't be happy with the fact that the monkeys aren't creating a ruckus anymore. Happy with the fact that the monkeys have calmed down. It's a lot more peaceful. It feels a lot better. You're not stressing out, and it feels great. And there can be a tendency to think that is the point of the meditation, and now you love meditation. Meditation is great. But you have to finish the journey. You have to cross the finish line. Now that the monkeys are calm, you can see your true nature. You can see the tree. You can bring that out into your awareness. And spending time in the awareness of your true nature is what the meditation is really for. So if you stop too soon, you've taken plastic beads instead of going all the way and getting the diamond. So that's really the point of this talk is whatever, always go for the diamond. Don't settle for the plastic beads. Okay. And so you just need to be like constantly asking yourself, am I settling here or am I getting the diamond? And when you're on the spiritual path, and I've been on it for a long time, so I can tell you from experience, it's really easy to think the plastic bead is the diamond. So you just need to be careful about that and stay on your toes and make sure you're getting everything that you can. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing to the YouTube. Thank you for subscribing to the Patreon and listening in on Spotify. Thank you for and if you have any questions, you could post them in the comments under the YouTube if you would like. And if you want it to be a private question, you could send me an email or a private message on one of the social media channels like Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Anyway, that's it for today. Love you all. Thank you very much. Bye.